Hello, everybody, and welcome to the premiere of our adult Sabbath school lesson, the study on the Gospel of John. Lesson 1, here we go. My name is Monique, and I'm joined with Arena and Pastor Sasha. So let us just begin with asking the question, is there a deeper significance to comparing wine to blood?
This is a very important question, and it goes into the heart of what was going on at this wedding in Cana of Galilee, because very often this text is being used and abused as sort of, Jesus helped a little bit with a nice drinking party. But it is definitely the case that here we have a different, deeper meaning of this particular intent that Jesus had, because, let's just read what it says in the chapter 2, verses, just for our listeners to understand where we're at. Verses 1 through 3 first.
On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine."
Okay. Do you think in this text, mother is asking Jesus to do something to get wine or make wine? Do you think there's like a request here?
Kind of hinting on it from what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. But she's very sure of herself. Like she's speaking with an answer already in mind, as mothers do.
It's very interesting because how did she know that Jesus could do this? Because, it's in the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. How did she know?
She was promised by the angel that this will be the Messiah before Jesus was in her womb. So I guess she always just carried that in her and then couldn't wait to start his ministry going. Probably pushing him towards it even.
So she just wanted to show off that this is her son and he can do miracle.
I don't think it was for herself. I don't even think she saw it like that. It doesn't seem like she did anything for status or for gain, just for the fact that she knew Jesus could do it.
Because it was said in private, if she wanted it for status or to show off or do it for her own benefit of any kind, she would have done it in front of people. Mm-hmm. From what it sounds like, this conversation takes place pretty privately between her and Jesus alone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, since the conversation, and now we just read she's not asking, please make a wine. They don't have wine. She just says, no wine.
Mm-hmm.
And since it is a conversation, as you noticed, let's see what Jesus' response, verse 4.
Okay. He says, "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come."
It's kind of interesting how Jesus replies, and especially the first sentence. In the New King James, they do a more literal translation, and it says here, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me?"
Mm-hmm. It's like, why are you even telling me? Like, that's none of my business. Go tell your friends. Like, these are your people. Like, why are you bringing me into this?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Is Jesus actually even interested in saying by the question like this? Is Jesus actually even interested in helping people get their entertainment party going by supplying the new batch of wine?
No, it doesn't appear so.
That's very important. So it doesn't appear so. It's like, this part is not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
This part is not my problem. And then he says the next thing, my hour has not yet come.
So they're on the same page, definitely, because she must be hinting at, hey, create a miracle, which here he tries to, in a way, shut her down by saying, not yet. Why are you pushing me?
Let's think, but let's think this way. He says, my hour has not yet come. When do you think his hour actually will have come?
It's baptism?
He was already
He was baptized.
He was
at that
already
moment.
Oh,
baptized.
yeah, duh. The voice in the wilderness, chapter 1, of course.
Yeah, that's right. But this is
Cleansing in the temple?
this is actually could be, but this is exactly the answer to your question, because at the Last Supper during, it's kind of interesting to make this note that in verse 13 it says that these events at the wedding were happening right before the Passover.
Okay.
So Gospel of John has all three Passovers described, so 3 years of ministry, it showed Passover. So at the last Passover, he says, my hour has come. And then he does it at the Last Supper.
Okay.
And that's where he's showing to them, okay, this is my broken body. Mm-hmm. And then he uses wine to show this is the blood. And so instead of trying to support the party, Jesus says basically to his mother, you want me to have a miracle? I'll do you a miracle, but not what you actually expect.
So then this setting is directly corresponding to his last moments, his death, his blood on the body.
Exactly. So the wine, it's kind of an interesting, your question at first kind of even put me off a little bit, because we don't have much of a spiritual significance of the wine in the Bible before. I mean, the wine is described, but here it's when I think, Monique, you were asking me questions, why wine symbolizes blood, right? Mm-hmm. Basically, what we can say is this. So, Jesus' Last Supper, it was a Passover meal. But it's not like what we think, often in the Bible, Passover lamb and something like this. Jesus himself is a Passover lamb. Mm-hmm. So over, probably in the 2nd century BC, 1st century BC, Jews, though many Jews lived outside of Judea, across Roman Empire, they didn't have opportunity to come to the temple regularly to participate. So they developed a special Passover meal. They call it a Seder. And so during this meal, they would recite and recall the events of Exodus. Mm-hmm. So they would recite the Bible verses, about the Pharaoh and the plagues and all these things. So, but they did it by drinking wine like Romans do. Mm-hmm. And so, few times, I think you remember, even here at the Edge, we did like a Passover meal, and had 4 cups of wine, delineated 4 parts of the Passover Seder. So this was just a Jewish tradition. So it became very popular, It's like Roman culture. They used lots of wine with, the meal, and they would recline. In Roman cultures, those who recline, it's the free people, So they use it to demonstrate, the commemoration of liberation from Egyptian slavery to freedom and things like this. So all these traditions. And so Jesus says, I'm going to use this tradition. But instead of just speaking only the history of what happened, I'm going to tell you what is going to happen. What is going to happen in a few hours? My blood will be spilled for you to get eternal life. And so this is, and my body will be broken. So he takes this Passover unleavened bread, breaks it up. This is my body. And then he says, and this wine, one of the cups was traditionally called the cups of redemption. And he says, this is my blood. And so because only through my blood you get a true redemption. Mm-hmm. And so that's how this image comes, and that's how Christians use the Lord's Supper. They often call it as a communion. But this is how it originated. But in the Cana wedding, Jesus wanted to show a pre-taste of what's going to happen 3 years later on Calvary.
Okay, and this was only really by request, not by his own personal desire. And then the significance between blood and wine was only really created after that final Passover. Nothing really before.
Like this one, the final Passover. But it's very interesting. So take a look here. How did Jesus produce this wine?
Okay, yeah. Now I'm going to bring my next question. So we'll just keep going with this. So they had the people that was already working there fill up 6 pots with water. But then these pots are also used for Jewish rituals. So I'm curious.
Special.
They were special pots. So now I'm curious about these Jewish rituals. And I can't let go of the significance because this is a special pot, special vessel. Christ is a very special vessel.
He only wanted to use those particular ones.
Mm-hmm, and nothing's by accident. So where are you going, Pastor?
Very important. So let's read about these rituals to see how these rituals of actually washing and things like this. Take a look at Leviticus 15, verse 11.
When a man is cleansed from his discharge, he is to count off 7 days for his ceremonial cleansing. He must wash his clothes and bathe himself with fresh water, and he will be clean.
So, that's what these special vessels are. As somebody with bodily discharge, after the discharge is over, goes in there and washes and basically dips himself or herself in there.
In there?
In there.
This is running water. That water sounds still. Why is he not at least pouring it on himself?
Yeah. Running water because from the rain. It runs from heaven. So these water pots were filled with the rainwater because there was not we're not thinking about they had some kind of plumbing or water supplies. So they had to have, they would fill those with the running water from the rain.
I'm sick.
And so people get in and they bathe themselves in there. So.
And that's what I was afraid of. That's what I was afraid of. Because Jesus is always doing stuff like this. First, this bathwater wine. And second, he spits in the mud and wipes it all over somebody's face. That's just gross.
Yeah. No, this is yeah. Yes. But this is the paradox. See, what Jesus is saying, I don't care for your drinking party. I'm not here on this earth to entertain the wedding. But you want me to show something. I'm going to show you something. First of all, these cleansing, right? It turns the water into wine and it's red. And so everybody next day, it says the Passover, so everybody was going to go right there to pilgrimage. So they were supposed to dip themselves into the water to cleanse themselves. And now it's red because Jesus wanted to show that this is how you really get clean, through the blood, only my blood gets you really clean. So he creates the wine, but it was definitely not designed for drinking.
Interesting. I never imagined it as that kind of ceremonial pots.
Yeah. That's the only one.
I always thought it was something fancy for like hand washing.
Nah. The hand washing, they had like a little bit of thing here. Mm-hmm. But this was a pretty large, I don't know what how maybe some New International translates into a gallon, but it's kind of, maybe not like a bathtub, but it's a half of a tub to make it a tank for, person to kind of dip himself in.
Yeah, not any bathtub, the community bathtub.
Yeah.
More like family, I would think.
Oh, yes.
Not
That's
community, not to that
exactly-
extent.
That's exactly, yeah. You are very careful to pick that kind of a detail.
Yeah.
But, that was definitely to show something. And plus, do you remember in the Bible another event when the water would turn red?
Egypt.
Yahoo.
The plague.
And that's another connection with Jesus was making this connection. So people remember that water turned into blood, and that's the beginning of Exodus.
Mm-hmm. That was the first sign, yeah?
That was the first sign. Yeah, that's right. That was the first sign of, let my people go, and here it goes. And so Jesus here, by showing this, Jesus reminded everybody about the events of Exodus and basically declared himself as the second Moses. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what was promised by Moses himself. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 18.
I will raise up for them a prophet, like you, from among their brethren, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him.
Yes, so his disciples, of course, they were all disciples initially of John the Baptist, and John the Baptist taught them about the coming of the Messiah, and so they went through all the prophecies, including the prophecies all the way back in the Torah, because it starts from Moses, and it's very clear. There will be like prophet like Moses, and Moses was leader of Exodus. And so Jesus said, by doing this, he said, okay, I'm here to lead you on your spiritual Exodus. Moses took you on Exodus from the slavery of Egypt. I'm going to take you on Exodus from the slavery of sin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then what does that say about drinking? Because I know you had a little bit of a question in mind as far as that goes.
Yeah, people very often bring up all of these passages, and I feel like they very much nitpick them, if that's the right word. Mm-hmm. They kind of exclude them from the rest of the stories. Oh, well, even Jesus drank, even Jesus turned water to wine, even this, even that, and multiple places it says, drink, but be mindful of it. And I feel like it even has been getting misrepresented nowadays when people just take those single parts alone and kind of use that as an excuse for nowadays drinking.
Yeah, instead of using like the Bible for purification, they use it for justification. And
pat
themselves on the back.
Well, there are two extremes here.
Mm-hmm.
One extreme, and it's just the misunderstanding of the culture is people will say, hey, Jesus did a grape juice. And thus, Jesus, basically did there's no alcohol, stuff like this. And sometimes you got some of the books. I remember one Bible in Germany, in German language, German translation made by one theologian, which you never do a good Bible translation by one person, but everybody called it a grape juice Bible because instead of the word wine everywhere in the Bible, he just said grape juice, grape juice, grape juice.
Interesting. Okay.
So, yeah. The big problem, people don't understand that in the Bible, back in the old days, there was no such a thing as a grape juice. I mean, you got to have a fresh grape to produce the juice. Like, sometimes the Pharaoh's cupbearer could do it, but hey, it was only in season.
Right.
And since we have a Passover, no way they could have it.
Yep, not the time, not
way.
the season.
Right.
No season. So how did they do it? And this is a issue with the understanding of the technology of wine production. There's a Greek style of wine production, and there is a ancient Eastern Mediterranean style, which is different. The Jewish Canaan style of wine production. In Greek, that's what today people use. This is how they produce all these wines, French wines, Italian wines, and all this. They go back to this Greek stuff. And in Greek, you have this big, huge clay pots,
Okay.
which they keep, the wine, it ferments, and then they seal it. Done. Do you know where they would have wine in Judea? What is used in the Bible, the word for wine?
Vessel?
Didn't they use animal skins to
Correct.
hold them?
Correct.
I remember
Correct.
even my uncle making one of those on his own. Once he read more and more into it, he decided to be really fancy. So he made himself like a flask-looking thing out of animal skin.
Like the wine skin, like old wine, new skin, new wine, old
Yeah.
skin.
Let's read
ringing
it.
bells.
Matthew 9:17.
Matthew 9:17. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst. The wine will run out, and the wineskin will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved.
Okay, so how does the wine skin? You have basically have to sow, right?
Kind of, yeah.
So if a wine is very, very, like a normal liquid, like we used to, try to pour it into a skin, what's going to happen?
Pour out.
Yeah, because it's going to be leaking through all over.
Right.
Because think about this, to make it tight, you need a really good sewing, you need a really good stitch. How do you make a good stitch? You need a small needle, they didn't have that. So it's going to be porous no matter what you do. So this wasn't really how the wine looked in the ancient Near East. I mean, in that particular region, not like in Greek. For example, we have throughout the Bible, we have different texts that indicate, the technology of making wine. So I'll show you a very unusual place, but that's what it is. Take a look, Revelation 14, verse 10.
Revelation 14:10.
Just the first, go ahead.
He himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation.
Okay, so it's kind of poured out or prepared into the cup. So this is kind of a hint here. So this is how they did wine. So we have like a facts, and then there is another one which I'll show you. So here is the last, basically. Take a look at Mark 12, verse 1.
Jesus then began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a pit for the winepress, and built a watchtower.
Okay, so you have a wine press. So you need to press these grapes. You need a pit, and it's dug. How do you press it? Do you know?
Didn't they used to wash their feet and walk on it to press it?
Yes. So pure grape juice. You have to walk on the grapes, and then.
Yeah.
So in reality, no matter,
something has to press it.
Yeah, but you walk with your feet. Everybody walk with their feet. Maybe they're not dirty, but
it's still feet.
It's still feet. Yeah. What is the risk immediately?
Bacteria.
Okay. So, do you think they knew about this?
Probably not very well.
Well, they didn't understand bacteria concept, but they really knew what the stomach ache was for sure.
100%. Mm-hmm.
So how did they solve the problem?
Wash their feet?
No.
Letting the wine ferment.
They let the wine ferment.
Because then it becomes alcohol. And then it's clean.
Yeah. Alcohol basically kills the bacteria. And so that's why you don't have a grape juice. It just doesn't exist. They have to turn it into an alcohol to kill the bacteria, and to keep it in skins, they need to evaporate extra liquid, so turn it into some kind of a jelly. And that's how they do it. They pour a little bit of jelly, like you have like a jam or something. You put it into the cup of tea. You can mix it together
with water.
Yeah, that's exactly. And it depends. The strength of alcohol depends on concentration.
So it would dilute. Is that why in the story it says that they served the best wine because it was so concentrated? Is that what was the?
We don't know
reference?
Exactly what exactly this boss of the wedding feast was able to pick up the taste, but it's just kind of the irony here. That's the paradox, because this was made in the water vessels where all these kind of purification happen, and a guy takes it and thinks this is the best wine.
Right, because he points out that usually towards the end of the wedding, they dilute the wine. But these people have served the best for the last.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's basically like you have skins, you put some at the beginning, and then at the end you have just a little bit. And by the way, this is why you can't put a new wine in those skins, because think about this jelly, and you can't just take it out. So at the end of the use, you have to use the new skins to put a new jelly, because you can't just put like if you make, let's say you make canning, right? And you have an old can with the jam, and you're making a strawberry jam, new one. If you put this new strawberry jam into
an old dirty jar,
and turn the the lid, crank the lid,
well.
Yeah, it's gonna blow up.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what's gonna happen.
unfortunate.
Immediately. So basically that's how it works. So again, let's not perpetuate the myth that they had a pure grape juice. This is not how it worked.
Okay.
But this is one side of the story. But the other side of the story, we shouldn't use this particular story to say that, Jesus made water into the wine, now we're allowed to have some booze, because it's very clear. The biblical position on, these drinking parties is absolutely clear. Look at Proverbs. Proverbs 23:31.
Proverbs 23:31. Do not gaze at the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly.
Yeah.
In the end, it bites like a snake and poisons like a viper.
Exactly. So this is a warning about this. And take a look at Isaiah 5:11.
Woe to those who rise early in the morning, that they may follow intoxicating drink, who continue until night, till wine inflames them.
Yeah, see? It's very clear. It's basically, God is strongly condemning any kind of drinking parties, The wine was used for medicinal purposes. Like Timothy was recommended to use wine for his stomach. And that's, again, probably he was having some intestinal infection. And that was the only way. But other than that, take a look, for example, Isaiah 28, verse 7.
But they also have erred through wine, and through intoxicating drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred there through intoxicating drink. They are swallowed up by wine. They are out of the way through intoxicating drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment.
Yeah, so basically, it's very clear. The Bible is strongly against any kind of, drinking or partying or all kinds of things with using an alcohol to create some kind of fun or something like this, to loosen up. This kind of stuff is definitely condemned, and it says, woe unto you, it will bite like a viper. The consequences will be dire.
So then that is a lot to consider, a lot to take home and kind of remember, because this is going to be a constant conversation and honestly a constant debate, because again, everybody's going to look for ways to use the word to justify rather than purify or clarify. It's no more means of creating a line, but what's the best way to smudge it is what these verses can be used for a lot of the time. But hopefully we've all found some clarity today. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's study up and see each other again next week. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment down below for all the things you liked, any questions you have, and what you want to see next time. And until next time, goodbye.